Welcome to Wanderlust and Wishes, the podcast where we explore the world one destination at a time.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Krystle.
As travel agents with fantastical vacations, we are here to share our passion for travel and help you turn your wanderlust into reality.
From hidden gems to bucket list adventures, join us as we dive into the sights, sounds, and stories of our favorite destinations.
So grab your passport, pack your bags, and let's embark on this journey together.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 93 of Wanderlust and Wishes. Today, we're going to talk about how to rope drop Universal Studios Florida, the 2026 strategy. First, though, I'm going to jump in and talk about this very interesting kind of bounce back type offer that was just released by Disney. So there's two parts to it. If you have checked out of a deluxe resort at Walt Disney World, within 14 days of checkout, you can book and get up to 25% off select cruises through 2027. The second part is if you have just disembarked from DCL, so it started on February 18th and goes through disembarkation through May 17th, you can get up to 35% off of your Walt Disney World vacation for dates through the rest of select dates through the rest of 2026, because we're still waiting on 2027 dates to be released. Disney, if you're listening, stop releasing the following year in May.
I have people asking, too.
I know. I have a list. It's so irritating, especially people that want to benefit from a bounce back from this year.
Oh, yeah.
I have so many people that traveled in February, and I feel terrible because I can't even do anything. I can't help them next year. Not yet. I mean, I can, but I don't have dates yet. So, and it's just frustrating that they have the bounce back information in the resorts, and then they can't even benefit from it because they don't have 2027 dates released.
I also thought this was interesting because we were on the way to the airport from our cruise, and John goes, "Is there some sort of bounce back that we could go to Walt Disney World?" And I said, "No, I've never seen such a thing." And then 2 days later, this was released.
Yeah, this is something that I've definitely never seen since I've been a TA. Okay, let's jump into our topic. Like I mentioned, we're going to break down exactly how to rope drop Universal Studios Florida for 2026.
We already covered Islands of Adventure, which is one of the other parks at Universal, in episode 88. And Universal Studios is completely different. So in this episode, we're going to cover what rope drop actually means, when to arrive, which rides to prioritize, what not to rope drop, and then how Studios differs from Islands, just some common mistakes that we see all the time, and real-world strategy examples of different types of travelers.
Okay, so what is rope drop? Because we do use this term a lot and sometimes make the assumption that everybody knows what it means, and not everybody knows what it means. It refers to the opening of the park. So not just the posted time. And sometimes it could be a literal rope, or it could be an imaginary rope, basically when they let you into the park. At Universal Studios, usually their turnstiles open 15 to 30 minutes before the scheduled opening. Guests may be able to move into staging areas. You can get into to certain parts of the park. Sometimes rides will start loading, or attractions will start loading right away, or they'll start loading right at official open. We also use rope drop to mean the first kind of critical 60 to 90 minutes of the day when the waits are lowest. With Universal Orlando, this truly means the park opening and not the opening of City Walk. For both of the OG parks, Islands of Adventure that we have already talked about, and Universal Studios, you have to go through City Walk to get to them, unless you're staying at one of the resorts that does the boat ride. But for the most part, you have to go through City Walk.
So Universal Studios Florida typically opens at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Early park admission rotates between the parks. So always check before your trip. Right now, it's been Islands of Adventure for the last couple months. And I think it just it's always different. There's no rhyme or reason. Early park admission is available to guests staying at select Universal Orlando Resort hotels and allows early entry to one designated park up to 1 hour before scheduled opening. And this also goes if you purchase tickets through your lovely TA over here, shameless plug. The timing examples that we're going to use today, we're going to assume it's a 9 a.m. scheduled open. So when we talk about different things, just keep that in mind. 9 a.m. is the gate listed opening time.
When should you arrive? Without early park admission, you should be arriving at security 45 to 60 minutes before the official park opening. If it's really like a peak season, super crowded summer holidays timeframe, you want to kind of jack that up a little bit more to like 60 to 75 minutes early. I know that sounds really extreme, but it is helpful for sure. With early park admission, arrive 60 to 90 minutes before early park admission begins. Also, front of the line positioning at City Walk, security matters. It's going to give you an extra bump because you're going to be there with everyone else that's trying to rope drop early park admission. In general, as TAs and just Universal Orlando as well, recommends allowing extra time for parking, security, going through security, walking through City Walk before you actually get to the park entrance, and also just understanding what the crowd levels are going to be like before you get there. If you're arriving for early park entry whenever it's like in the middle of the holiday season and you think you're going to be the only one getting there and it's not going to be crazy crowded, you probably should adjust your expectations.
Why is Universal Studios rope drop different than Islands of Adventure? So this is very important, so listen up. Islands of Adventure, there's one dominant ride to rope drop, which is Hagrid's. At Universal Studios, there isn't one ride that pulls the entire park right now at this current moment. So that makes studios different because there are multiple mid-capacity headliners instead of one mega draw. There are more simulator-heavy attractions. There are more front-of-park congestion. There are more families rope dropping things like Minions up front. The traffic flow feels more spread out. So Universal Studios is more about momentum and sequencing, not racing to one ride.
So let's look at some of the 2026 ride priorities. One of the things that's important to note, and I think we've mentioned this previously, but for this specific episode, we just want to remind you that Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, sadly, is permanently closed. It closed in 2025, so it's no longer going to be a part of your rope drop strategy. However, we don't have a date yet, but there will be another ride that's replacing it. They're basically taking it apart and they're building up the new coaster. It's going to be a Fast and Furious themed roller coaster that's going to replace it. This will definitely impact rope drop strategy once it's in place. But at this point, we don't have a date. So I can't imagine that it's going to be ready in 2026. For Universal Studios, the current major rope drop contenders are Escape from Gringotts in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Diagon Alley, Revenge of the Mummy, Transformers, and then Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem.
So let's talk through the best first ride options. Option 1, Escape from Gringotts, especially if you have early park admission. This is ideal if you want Wizarding World of Harry Potter photos with low crowds or you're park hopping later. So if you've never been there, Gringotts is a hybrid dark ride and roller coaster that is in Diagon Alley. It combines physical sets, motion-based ride vehicles, and large projection screens, and is one of the most popular attractions in the park. Do you have problems with this ride?
Yes, a little bit. I definitely could not go on this ride if I didn't have my Dramamine. It's not as significant as what I experienced with Forbidden Journey, though. I don't think I've ever experienced anything at the level that I experienced with Forbidden Journey, except for maybe the teacups.
So our strategy that we suggest is go straight into Diagon Alley, ride immediately, and then pivot to the Mummy before general crowds arrive. If you do not have early park admission, Gringotts may already post a 45 to 70 minute wait by official park open.
Option number 2, and this is best if you do not have early park admission, is to go to Revenge of the Mummy. Revenge of the Mummy is an indoor launched roller coaster. It's a dark ride and it's pretty high speed. It does have fire effects, animatronics, and some sudden directional changes. So it's definitely on the thrill ride side of things. The lines typically start building pretty quickly after 10 a.m. Although this is very efficient for your first ride, if you do not have early park entry, it's also a good option for later in the day because it has an indoor queue and you don't have to sit out in the heat. And it's also one of the reasons it's a great option as a first ride is because it's kind of like right after you walk in before everything kind of spreads out. It's easy to get to from the front of the park. So for this, the suggested sequence is first go to Mummy, then go to Transformers, and then go to Gringotts if you're doing a non-early park admission strategy.
If you are familiar with studios at all, you may be asking, what about Minions? Minions is extremely popular with families. Despicable Me Minion Mayhem is a motion simulator attraction that has large theater-style ride vehicles that move in sync with projection screens. Because of it has like a high capacity and front of the park location, it often can get guests in and out quickly for the heavy demand. But it's at the front of the park, so it can easily jump high wait times very quickly and get highly congested. Although the capacity is high, it's better for like that mid-morning or during lunch dip. So I guess it depends on age of your kids too.
That whole area just like gives me claustrophobia when it starts getting crowded. So I would rather just I'd rather just be out of that space because it's just so congested right there because everybody like stops when they get to that section. And I would rather just plow through them.
Yeah, it's like when you're at Epcot and Spaceship Earth, everybody goes to it first because it's the first ride and it quickly jumps like a 90-minute wait. And you're like, people, there are better things. Just keep moving to the park.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about lockers really quickly. There are not as many lockers as with Islands of Adventure. So this is helpful. But there are 2 rides, Gringotts and Mummy, that do require a locker. So you just want to be prepared for that. Have your ticket out and ready to scan so that you can get through that quickly and not be like messing around in that area and cause yourself delays. And then moving on to motion sickness. I think I've mentioned this probably every time we talked about Universal Studios. It's not my favorite because of all of the simulator rides, because it does trigger my motion sickness a lot. Some of the rides I can like get through, but a lot of them I just really can't. It doesn't really matter what I do. Even if you feel like you can handle it, one of the things that you want to avoid is stacking too many of those rides back to back, because I think even if you don't have like major motion sickness issues, you're going to feel pretty crappy by the time you get through the morning if you do that, if you do too many. 2 of the rides that are pretty bad for motion sickness, The Simpsons. I'm never going to ride that ever because I already know, I know that it already has a reputation for that, so I'm not even going to try it. The same with Fast and Furious. They have lots of screen-based media motion, vehicle motion, all of those things that just, even thinking about them makes me turn green. I also have trouble with the Jimmy Fallon ride because of the 3D glasses. I think that just like pushes me over the edge. Even my girls, they didn't like it. They didn't feel good afterwards. In addition to Jimmy Fallon, you also have Gringotts, which we talked about, Transformers, and Minions. So that's 5 or 6 rides that rely on that technology. And so it can be a struggle for people that have motion sickness. Some of the strategies that you can utilize is to alternate between a roller coaster and a simulator ride, and then maybe having a little bit of a break. Hydration is really important. And I know it sounds almost counterintuitive, but don't go without eating, because if you don't eat and you haven't had enough water or hydration and you get on these rides, it's 10 times worse.
I think that's what got us, at least what got me on Forbidden Journey, is I did it on an empty stomach. And I am usually, for the most part, okay with motion sickness, but even I was dying, and we did it on an empty stomach.
We had to go get something to eat and just sit in the air conditioning because it was hot, on top of it being the motion sickness stuff. And so it was just a bad combo.
All right, something else that may affect your strategy is the height requirements of a ride. So Revenge of the Mummy comes in at 48 inches. And then you have Minions, Transformers, and Gringotts that are all 40-inch height requirement. If no one in your group meets the 48-inch height requirement, I would start with Gringotts. If you have mixed heights, rope drop the tallest ride first, and then use child swap, and then pivot. Personally, I like to do the lowest one first, but that's just me and my little kids. So I guess it depends on how you look at it. Like, do you want to do a child swap in the morning and just get the headliner out of the way? Or do you want everybody to ride first?
Our mama hearts usually want to make sure everybody can ride first. Next, if you're doing express pass and rope drop or having that kind of thrown into the mix, if you do have express pass, obviously rope drop is not going to matter as much. You have the option to focus on some of the lower capacity rides first. You can skip the stress over Gringotts because you can use express pass for that. And just as a reminder, express pass allows guests to bypass the regular standby line. And it's not all rides, but it's a lot of them. It's a lot of the attractions. And there are two different options. There's Universal Express Pass, which allows you to skip the line once per ride. And then there's Unlimited Express Pass, which lets you skip the line as many times as you want for all of the attractions that are on the list. And then obviously, if you don't have Express Pass, what we've been talking through is really your morning efficiency is going to be critical to getting as much done as you can.
Now let's talk through some common mistakes that we see at Universal Studios. And this is where people might lose their day. So arriving at the posted opening wait time. You're going to be way far back and frustrated because everybody else is in front of you and already in. That's why we say arrive early. Rope dropping Minions without early park admission. I think we talked through that one a little bit. If you go to Diagon Alley and just kind of wander before riding, you're wasting precious time. Wander after you ride.
It's really hard. You have to make an intentional effort, especially if it's the first time you've seen it, to not want to go around and look at everything.
Another huge mistake that we see is not checking which park has early park admission. Like I said, Islands of Adventure has been the early park admission for the last 2 months. That's going to change. It could change weekly. Who knows what Universal's going to decide to do. Losing time at lockers, and I'm going to add sending your entire party into the lockers. Send one person in so it doesn't bottleneck. Be quick. Don't wait in line with 10 people if you see another scanner open. You're losing precious time. If you ignore ride downtime and not pivoting. So if you're just going to sit outside the ride, wait for it to come back up, you're losing precious time. Stacking simulators and feeling sick by lunchtime. Do everything you can to alternate, hydrate, eat. Don't ruin your day by going heavy ride simulator back to back to back.
I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I was speaking to someone a few weeks ago and they talked about how they felt like they were just waiting in line all day. And if you don't have a plan and a strategy, you definitely can feel that way. And you kind of are doing that. I don't think that we can overemphasize or over recommend rope dropping. It really makes a major impact in your day and stops you from feeling like you are waiting in line all day. It gives you a little bit of a head start. Okay, let's do some real world strategy examples. For an adults only trip, Mummy, Transformers, Gringotts, Coffee Break, and maybe Simpsons if you don't have people that are going to be sick. But I would not do Simpsons for sure. Maybe not do Transformers. I'm definitely going to be a lame person to go to Universal Studios with, just FYI.
And you're going to want your coffee before we enter the park.
That is correct. Okay, if you have a family with kids under 48 inches, you want to start with Gringotts and then move to Transformers, go to Minions, then go to E.T. Oh, E.T. I love that one. do your lunch, and then do Mummy using Child Swap. For your teens and or thrill seekers, maybe just a little bit older kids, you want to do Mummy first. If it has a short wait, do Mummy again, Transformers, and then do Gringotts. And then your Express Pass holders, you don't have to worry so much about getting there first thing. Do Mummy first, let crowds maybe spread out a little bit, and then you kind of have the flexibility to ride what you want having Express Pass. You can kind of pick and choose which ones are your favorites. Obviously, we would still recommend don't do too many simulator rides back to back to back. Keep that in mind. And then you probably also want to make sure that you're kind of trying to take down the different rides that are closer together so that you're not killing yourself walking around back and forth.
All right, so let's talk through a sample timeline. And this is if you do not have early park admission and it is a 9 a.m. park open. Arrive at security by 7:55. Gates open at 8:35. Official open 9. Board the Mummy at 9:03. Be on Transformers at 9:15. And be to Gringotts by 9:40. And then by 10:30, you have done 3 headliners. Sounds like a win.
And when you have that already under your belt, you just already feel like you have so much done and you can move on and not be so stressed out about maybe taking on some other things. And you feel a little less worried that you're going to get some of the different other things done. Okay, so for lunch, a lot of times wait times will dip during lunchtime between that 11:30 to 1:30 time frame. So if you, for some reason, weren't able to get on these rides earlier by rope dropping, try doing Gringotts, Minions, and Transformers. These are often a good fit for that time frame.
So, as you may have caught on, Universal Studios will reward you if you have an intentional morning. It's not so much about running to that headliner. It's about arriving early, moving with purpose, having a backup plan in case something goes down. And if you win that first hour or two, you usually will win the whole day and feel like you conquered it all.
It's really crazy how different the strategy is or how different it is from Islands. It's just a totally different feel, totally different vibe for sure. For those of you that are Universal pros, or if this is your first time visiting a park, we hope that this was helpful and that you gained some insight and tips into Universal Studios. If you're interested in a Universal Orlando trip, we would absolutely love to help you and really personalize this park strategy to your family. A lot of times, we talk about these things and they have to be somewhat generalized. We try to do some specific scenarios, but everybody's different. So being able to help you through that is one of the things we love to do. Thank you so much for listening this week, and we will talk to you all next week. Bye!
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wanderlust and Wishes.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And remember, the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. Until next time, happy travels.
Bye for now.